In today's video, we're going to be diving into the upcoming pattern, taking a look at the temperatures over the next few weeks, where we seem to be seeing a very cold trend here coming up very soon. Even the Climate Prediction Center from the National Weather Service putting out their 6 to 10 day outlooks and their 8 to 14 day outlooks, which look very cold at the current moment. So we're going to show those in a minute. We're going to go over our potential snowstorm signals, kind of tracking the changes and what we're thinking as of right now with all of these potential opportunities for snowfall, which, by the way, are only coming as a result of the very cold air, which is much higher confidence today than it has even been before. Every single day it's that way because it's getting closer and closer. Even getting a little bit of a glimpse further into the after Christmas pattern, which, to be honest, I do expect to be a bit warmer. I think 25th, 26th, 27th, 28th timeframe, I am watching for some warmth to move in. And I know that's very long range, but these temperature signals can be quite accurate. So that is currently my current thinking. Let's take a look here at the past 14 days overall, because we're going to get a really good look at the first half-ish of December. So far, we've seen most of the warmth be over the west here. Positive PNA is what we call this. Warmth along western North America here is what a positive PNA is. And what it causes is cold to the east of it. Since winds are usually moving from west to east, what happens in the west here impacts the east as a result. And when we see this positive PNA, you can expect negative or colder temperatures in the east. And that's sure enough what we've seen through the majority of this first half of December so far. Now, as we take a look at the National Weather Service's 6 to 10 day outlook for the temperatures, we do see a lot of the same continuing, and this is for the 20th through the 24th of December. As you can see, a lot of warmth out here in the west and a lot of colder air here in the east. So again, you see the positive here followed by the negative here, and it's a little bit more east based. The west, we see this warmth spread a little further eastward, and the cold, it's a little bit more exclusive further eastward. We're a little bit less certain here near the central states, but for the immediate east coast especially, it does appear like we're going to have a colder time period during the 20th through the 24th. And even as we add here the 8th through the 14th, again, I do expect the 25th through 28th to be warmer. This would explain the warmer shift that we're seeing even in this area. I suspect that we're going to get more times of cold, perhaps in the west during this time as well. So I don't know how much I really agree with this. I think we're going to be a bit warmer in the east during this time and probably quite a bit colder here over the west than what this is showing, but time will tell. Let's take a look here at the GFS model, and starting today, we have plenty of snowfall and actually cold air happening out west. We see the Sierra Nevada, the Cascades, the Rockies here, so all of these mountain ranges seeing some pretty heavy snowfall, and really your jet stream is entering in on the southwest coast, ridging over the Rockies, and then we see this kind of wavy trough over the east here. So your primary ridge here is over the Rockies. We do have a bit of a trough here along the northwest coast, and then we get some colder temperatures moving into the east as well here. It's kind of a broken up pattern a bit. We do have a very weak low pressure system over Missouri. This is bringing a cold front type feature, and we are seeing likely thunderstorms and heavier showers in this corridor. Some wintry weather being experienced for Iowa, Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Illinois here as this very weak low moves through. Let's take a look at Sunday on the 15th, and we get our first little bit of snowfall here in the east, starting for western, mostly northwestern Virginia, northern West Virginia, areas of western Maryland, and then central and western PA, as well as central, or better yet, western New York. That's a mouthful. Seeing some snowfall happening out there. Basically the same system that we saw over the upper Midwest. And we see a double dipping trough, a little bit more intense in the west here, with some snowfall there for the Rockies. A bit of a ridge here for the northern plains and upper Midwest. And then another soft trough here for the northeast. As we keep going towards Monday, we see that snowfall kind of continues for the northeast for a moment. We see some rainfall move in afterwards here towards Monday. And Monday's or better yet, Tuesday. And Tuesday is a very interesting time frame because we have a very flat jet stream here. Very zonal is what we call it. And that means everything's kind of moving directly west to east. And you would think this is a normal jet stream, right? The north is cold, the south is warm, but really this is a quite rare setup. We don't see this all the time. Typically there's a trough or a ridge on either side of the coast, and this is a rather unique pattern. Even though it would seem like this would be like the default during the wintertime, it's really not. Some snowfall in the northwest here for Tuesday the 17th. As we move towards Wednesday the 18th, we see our first potential winter storm setting up here. The one that we're of course the most confident in because it's the most upcoming. We see your jet stream doing something like this. So we see a huge ridge setting up for the west. So again, this is what we call a positive PNA, and it's suddenly come onto the scene here. And we see really intense Arctic air diving southward for a lot of the central and kind of like Great Lakes and Ohio Valley states here. That is meeting up with this area of energy, and that's what's going to create some potential snowfall. So we get some of this going on here for New England. Here's this cold air is moving in. We see some scattered about snowfall for New York and Pennsylvania here as well. This is in Wednesday into Thursday, and that basically moves off after that point. Now, as we take a look here at the 19th, we're kind of prepping for potential snowstorm number 2, and there's going to be two pieces of energy that are crucial with this one. We get the northern piece of energy, and we get the southern piece of energy down here, and we're not really seeing too much from this southern piece of energy, keep in mind, and that's going to be crucial as we move forward. But what needs to happen is this northern one needs to kind of dive in at the same time as this southern one is getting drawn in from the south, and this is all what kind of comes together and brings a low pressure system. If you were to get rid of this southern piece of energy and just have this northern piece come through, well, likely what you're going to end up with is some snowfall, probably lighter, mostly for these northern areas. If this one was to go away altogether, you likely would end up with this southern piece of energy, but it would be a little too warm. You would see too warm of temperatures in these areas, as this system was not here to pull the cold air down. So we really need the northern and the southern piece to come together for snowstorm number 2 to really shine and bring the potential that we've been showing for a couple of days. I mentioned yesterday, it's going to be a roller coaster. We are going to see shifts. First off, it's already a longer range, medium to long range outlook at this point. So that brings some variability from model run to model run. But when you have these very critical components like the northern piece of energy and exactly where it's at and the timing, same story with the southern piece, any small change in either of these, let alone both, would cause major changes towards the end when it's becoming a snowstorm, kind of like the butterfly effect you've probably heard about. So let's see what ends up happening with this on this current model run. And what we see is this northern piece of energy moving down, again, mostly lighter to moderate snowfall in the form of snow showers. It's kind of more like a clipper system for the Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, Midwest. Very cold air has moved down, as we've been predicting, for this kind of 20th time frame, which we've been calling for cold air around the 20th, I think, for weeks now. Again, calling for warmth after Christmas at this point. Not confirmed whether that's a long-term warm-up or a short-term one, but I do expect Christmas Day, the couple of days after, to be quite warm, for the record. We do see snowstorm number 2, the kind of like low pressure area of it, trying to meet up as this northern piece has pulled the cold down. So we've kind of seen not a lot from it through its trek through the deep south, but we see it try to come together off the southeast coast here on this model run. But what we see happening is it's just too far offshore, probably because it's moved in so late. This trough is very well developed, and when we look at the jet stream, it's very flat like this. So when we see a storm move along, it's going to follow these lines. It would move like this. We talked about this yesterday or a couple of days ago. When we looked before, this would be a much more favorable jet stream because the storm would likely move a lot closer to the coast. This would be close enough and north enough to where these areas would likely see snowfall in this type of a scenario. But when you move just a day or two later, the jet stream is diving southward, and we get a low further to the south underneath it. A couple of days ago, what the jet stream looked like was a very tight and vertical positive PNA, and same story with the trough. We had a jet stream going up the coast, and you can tell there's a huge difference. The black there is going to be the line that I just drew. Let me do in yellow what we're seeing now with a lot of the jet stream. And you can tell there's a huge difference in the flow of this. This yellow line pulls it offshore, the black line will pull it right up the coast. And this is some of the change that we've seen over the course of a couple of model runs. And that is going to lead to massive differences in whether we see an East Coast blizzard, basically, is what this type of storm would bring, especially with this type of cold air, or if we're lucky to see flakes for some areas. And this is why I've been preaching so many times throughout the videos. The specifics will change. It's going to be a roller coaster when we're trying to pin down something this far out. And I do give it my best shot. I understand that's what makes me different. That's why people gravitate to these videos, because nobody else is talking about this stuff. I get so many comments where they're like, so-and-so forecaster isn't seeing this at all. They're seeing it. Everybody's using the same models as me. There isn't some secret model out there that, the public doesn't have access to. It's the GFS, the Canadian, the European. These are all your major models, and everybody that pays attention to the weather sees the same things that I see. They're just not talking about these things because that's not what their job is. Their job is to tell you the specifics that are for sure going to happen, that are like within a couple of days of happening. And that's a great job. That's an important job that they have. But what I try to do here on the channel is bring you guys something different. For those of you that want to know what might happen, or what the probabilities are of different things happening as we move into like the 5, 7, 10, 12, 15 day marks, that's what I'm doing here. And that's why people gravitate to this. Because if I was doing the same thing that your local forecaster was doing, why would you pick me over him? You know what I mean? They already do a great job at their job, and I'm not going to try to compete with that. You know what I mean? That these are seasoned meteorologists that, again, they focus in on the, 2, 3, 4, 5 day mark. And that's just not what I do. I'm doing something that it does give me a lot of criticism from some folks, but also it's very unique to others. And that's why I think I've found success here on YouTube. Anyway, that was a long rant. I'm sorry about that. Let's go ahead and move towards the following days. And what you can see is that we do still have broad low pressure. If you've been keeping up with our videos, this is a little bit of an elongated area. So even though your low pressure center is well offshore, there's still some left over near the coast. And it's enough to where when this cold is over these areas, we are seeing some snowfall, Saturday, Sunday. Maybe if let's pretend like this is exactly what we see, but again, the specifics will change, but let's say they don't. This would likely bring some areas, 1, 2, 3 inches of snowfall. A situation like this, it depends if you're under the heavy bands or not, or whatnot, or if you have mixing going on. But I know for a lot of areas in like Virginia, for instance, here, that would be the most snowfall they've seen in like 2 years. So I don't think people would really, that's going to be exciting for a lot of folks, even that amount. So that's why I feel like this is noteworthy, especially for my area. I mean, that's quite a few hours of snowfall. And we do get this second low kind of developing here as well. This might even be like the third at this point. So the storm signals are still there. But again, your jet stream just kind of aiming it offshore. So let's see how it moves. This is Sunday the 22nd. And yeah, it just moves right offshore. So we're going to need some much more vertical tilt with this trough to really see much. We do see a strong low by Tuesday into Wednesday the 25th. So Christmas Eve into Christmas Day. This low brings some wintry weather to south central Canada or north central United States. Also some rain showers and thunderstorms here for more of the Midwest. What we see out west is very major. A couple of pretty intense low pressure systems setting up, and we see snowfall throughout the Cascades, the Sierra Nevada, the Rockies here, and also heavy rainfall for the coast of Washington, Oregon, and the northern 2/3 of California. If this was to set up for Christmas Eve into Christmas Day, I know that's going to be very impactful for a lot of you. Thankfully, it kind of does lighten up as we head towards about 1 p.m. on December 25th, Christmas. This will be Eastern time, by the way, that we're looking at now. So it will be a bit earlier out west. But thankfully, it looks like that's mostly an overnight thing. And as we get into the day, that does lighten up a bit. Still some snowfall for the Cascades, Sierra Nevada, Rockies here. And for the afternoon of Christmas, we do see some stormy weather kind of reaching the eastern states a little bit more. We do have a low here between the Hudson Bay and the Great Lakes, but we have this cold air set up over the west. And every time we've seen this combination, the low between that area does not bring a cool down. For those of you that probably aren't following right now, for months now, I've been talking about how every time we see a low go through the Hudson Bay and the Great Lakes, in between those two areas, we get a big cool down in the east. But we've seen 1 or 2 so far this fall and winter. where there was very cold air over the west, and that kind of undid the effect that this low had. So let's see what happens here as we move past Christmas and into Boxing Day here, December 26th. Yeah, it really just kind of like slides up to the north. If you watch this, it swings around and it's out of here by the time it's Thursday morning there. We do get another pretty intense low between Nebraska, Iowa, Missouri, and Kansas there, bringing some heavy snowfall to the northern plains and upper Midwest, and also showers and thunderstorms here on the southeast quadrant. We'll see if this can develop a pretty intense cold front. Still, some northwest snowfall as well. Yeah, by Friday, we see that this one is bringing snowfall to the Great Lakes and eventually perhaps the Northeast. We do briefly get a cool down here on the 28th. So again, between the 25th and 28th is that warm period. We do get a little bit of a cool down. And even as we head towards the 30th, I mean, look at this. Fully negative PNA, very big warm up here in the east. So this model's saying, hey, maybe this is going to be like, 5, 6, 7 days of a warm up at least. But we have seen these models be, wrong on the tail end here. I think once this is with, a couple days sooner, we'll have a better vision for what to expect for the final days of December. This is just a little far out right now, but some snowfall out west, cold air could be happening here as we kind of turn the page into a little bit of a new pattern after the Christmas Day time frame. A little warmer, more milder, and a little bit more stormy here in this eastern red corridor for that 25th to 30th time frame. Now, the European model, I want to specifically hone in on these storms here. Here's snowstorm number 1. Again, Pennsylvania, New York, New England there getting some snowfall for Wednesday into Thursday, 18th into 19th. We do see another major cool down move in after that. Here's snowstorm number 2. We can tell this one is way, way too far offshore. And here's that northern piece of energy. So you got your southern down here, and you have got your northern right here. And those are just not close at all together when they need to be. We see that low move offshore. We get kind of the snow showers, like I mentioned, for south central Canada into some of the Great Lakes and northeast, but really doesn't come together like it could. We're left with cold air until about Christmas Eve, Christmas Day. Then we warm up here. This is the 25th. Again, pretty stormy out west for Christmas Eve into Christmas Day on this model as well. So that's boding into that confidence of that. We see warmer air continue for the 28th, 29th, and this model says, hey, 29th, 30th, you have some warm push from the southwest here, so a potential starting of a positive PNA, which again just means warm out west. And suddenly we have a major cold front moving towards the eastern states, and this could bring frigid weather again. We have a strong low up here in northern Canada and kind of a dragging front pulling everything in. This could set up for a colder end to December and beginning of January, so huge discrepancies. But again, these final days of these model runs have been really sketchy to say the least. As we take a look at the total precipitation here from the GFS model, we're left with a lot for the Northwest, kind of like the Central West here, like California. We see quite a bit here for the Midwest, Ohio Valley, Great Lakes, and even I would extend this into the Northeast as well in Mid-Atlantic. Here, that area does quite nice. Here is the anomalies, and again, very far above average for the Northwest now. Also this corridor in here in particular. And then we have a very dry corridor through the Southeast where, unfortunately, we've just seen a ton of rainfall come in, but it looks like it's going to dry up a lot after this point for this area. Now, if these storms trend further inland, or closer to the coast at least, you would see especially these areas here get a lot less dry looking. So there is some change that can happen. This isn't locked in through December 30th. This could pull back a little bit. And also, if this southern piece of energy is a little bit more prominent, I could see this entire corridor being a little bit less dry than this. Still some time to go, but we'll continue to track it, of course. Total snowfall, well, let's look at the actual total snowfall here on the GFS model. That's the accumulated total snowfall. Tons and tons and tons for the Cascades, Sierra Nevada, and the Rockies. Almost the entire mountain range is there. That is a huge increase from what we've been seeing recently. And also the Great Lakes and Upper Midwest here, looking at quite a bit more on here as well. Once we zoom into the northeast corner of the nation here, we can see a lot of these mountain ranges seeing quite a bit of snowfall. West Virginia, Pennsylvania, New York, New England here, but it's a lot more inland than we've been seeing on previous model runs. Also, like I mentioned, Maryland, North Carolina here, DC, Central Virginia. This is 1, 2, maybe 3 inches of snowfall with some of those snow showers that we see in kind of a lighter snowstorm, honestly, that we see between the 20th and 22nd time frame. If this occurred, I know people in like Richmond, Virginia, and areas like that have been hoping for snow wouldn't be mad about this. I think that that would be a really solid amount. That is enough to cover up all the grass at least. So I wish that this was happening where I live. You know what I mean? I don't live up by Richmond, but I wish that I would receive something like this. That's all I want. I just want a couple inches of snowfall. I think it's been at least 2.5, 3 years. So very, very long time. When we look at the European models total snowfall here, we do see less, as in none, for this Virginia and North Carolina corridor. But for the inland east, we do see very similar plowable amounts in there. A little bit less for the upper Midwest and Great Lakes in here, but still plowable up there as well. And then similarly, we have very huge amounts for the Cascades here, Nevada, and Rockies here. Overall, the temperature pattern, again, warming up here soon, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but here comes Thursday with a major cool down here for Thursday the 19th, Friday the 20th, Saturday the 21st, Sunday the 22nd, Monday the 23rd, many, many days here, even the 24th a bit for the southeast still, but it's the 25th, Christmas, 26th, Boxing Day, 27th, 28th that were mostly warm. We get another brief cool down, followed by maybe more warm air around the 30th time frame. It's the very end of the model run, though. Here's the European model. Again, warm before we cool down on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There, Monday even, Tuesday a little bit. But then Wednesday, Christmas, we warm back up, which is annoying to me. We get left with this warm up all the way until the 28th. But this model has warmer air developing for the West Coast again, which is a positive PNA, as we've mentioned. And we have this really brutal looking area of cold air over South Central Canada that looks primed to move into the east. So this model is looking like maybe around New Year's we would have a major cool down once again. This is very far out though, and really when we look at both of our major models here, what they're doing close to the 30th, it's completely opposites. So that's kind of a toss-up. I think that in a day or two, probably by the 17th at least, we'll have a much clearer vision for what's happening here at the end of December into early January. With all that being said, we do upload every single day, so be sure to subscribe. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.